I swear to you, I had no idea that old mirror in my grandmother's attic was anything special. It had been there for years, just a dusty, ornate thing that nobody ever touched. That is, until one night I decided to explore. I just moved into her house after she passed and was still settling in, figuring out the oddities of this place. The attic wasn't really a place I liked to visit. It smelled musty, and the air felt thick up there. But this particular night, I was poking around, looking for something to occupy my time when I saw it. This old gold-framed mirror leaning against the wall, half covered in an old blanket. I couldn't remember seeing it before. I know it sounds ridiculous, but something about that mirror drew me in. Maybe it was because the house was so quiet, or because I'd been feeling a little off since moving in. Anyway, I stood in front of it, and for the first time I saw myself in it, but not like I expected. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. I stood frozen for a second, waiting for my reflection to catch up, but it didn't. It just kept smiling, a slow, deliberate grin that stretched wider and wider. I turned around to see if anyone had snuck in, but there was no one. I was alone. I was out of there in a flash, but the next day, I went back. The mirror was still there, but when I looked into it, everything was fine. My reflection was normal again. I didn't think much of it. Maybe I just imagined it. But then, a few nights ago, I was sitting in my living room. It was late, maybe 3 a.m., and the house was dead silent. All of a sudden, I heard a noise coming from upstairs. I didn't think much of it at first. I thought maybe it was just the house settling. I went upstairs to check, and there in the hallway, I saw the mirror again. But this time, it wasn't leaning against the wall. It was positioned right in front of the door to my bedroom, perfectly placed. I could see the reflection of the hallway in the glass. My reflection was there too, and once again, it was smiling. But this time, it wasn't my smile. I'm moving out tomorrow. I don't know what that mirror is or who it really reflects, but I don't care to find out. This happened when I was living alone in an old apartment complex, one of those places where the walls are paper thin and the neighbors are always a little too close for comfort. I was used to the strange noises at night, the creaking floors, the rumbles of the pipes, but one night it all took a turn. It started with the phone call. I was in bed, just about to drift off to sleep when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick it up. The voice on the other end was familiar, but I couldn't place it at first. "Hello," I said, trying to sound calm. "Hey, it's Mom," the voice said. "I'm sorry to bother you so late. Are you okay?" I froze. My mother had passed away 3 years ago. I thought I was hearing things. Maybe it was a prank or a wrong number, but the voice, it sounded so much like her. "Mom, is this really you?" I asked, my heart racing. There was a long pause. The voice on the other end just breathed. Then finally she spoke. "I'm so sorry I had to leave. Please don't go into the basement." And the line went dead. I stood there staring at the phone in disbelief. My mom had been gone for years. There was no way. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The next morning, I decided to investigate. I lived in that apartment for over a year, and I knew there was a small locked door in the basement that I'd never bothered to open. It had always been just another door, another part of the building that felt like it had no reason to exist. But now, I had to know. I went down there, my heart pounding in my chest. The basement smelled musty, and the flickering light overhead made the shadows seem deeper than usual. I approached the door. It was locked, but the old key I found under the sink fit perfectly. When I opened it, I was met with the sight of a small room. There was a dusty old chair in the middle, and on the floor next to it, a stack of old photographs. I flipped through them, and my stomach sank. The pictures were all of my mom, but they were taken in places I didn't recognize. Some of them with a man I had never seen before. The final picture in the stack, though, made my blood run cold. It was of my mother sitting in that exact chair in the room, smiling at the camera. I haven't been able to sleep properly since, and I don't know who made that call last night, but I'm not going anywhere near that basement again. This happened last year in a house I had just moved into. It was a nice place, a bit older than I would have liked, but it had character. The first few days were peaceful, and I was settling in, feeling comfortable. But something changed one night. I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I felt it, like I was being watched. At first I thought it was nothing, just the feeling of being alone in a new place. But then I saw it, the shadow. It wasn't a person. It wasn't even an animal. It was just a dark, vague shape standing in the corner of the room. It wasn't moving, but I could feel its presence. I tried to convince myself it was just my eyes playing tricks on me. I turned on the light and looked around, but there was nothing. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling. I turned the light off, hoping that whatever it was would go away. But as I lay there in the dark, the shadow shifted. It moved across the room, slow and deliberate, and I could see it now more clearly. It wasn't solid. It was like smoke, curling and swirling, but it had the shape of a person. I could feel it getting closer. I don't know how, but I knew it was coming toward me. My heart was pounding in my chest. Then I heard a whisper in the dark, "Don't leave me." I bolted out of bed and turned on every